Hey everybody, this is Boost for you, and we are back with week 2 of the Bandless Battlers League. It's a Rain Ditto with Mega Lucario and Terra fighting Spectre. This is gonna be a little difficult, but it's gonna be pretty fun since both of us get to work with Rain. My opponent opted for a more defensive core with Toxapex, Sableye, and Knuckle Stack over my Swift Swim abusing Swampert and Overquill. But the trick is I'm not going to bring in Pelipper. I'm just going to rely on my opponent to bring in the rain for me. That way I can free up slots. It's not like Pelipper would have helped much here anyway. The Knuckle Stack is Terra Fairy. And it still has Salt Cure, so gotta watch out for that. So on to the team. First, we have Ferrothorn. With Protective Pads, this is meant to counter the other Ferrothorn. So the reason why there's duplicates in this matchup is because I explained in the beginning of this league that the drafting process was split into pools, and then we were recombined again. So we might run into Ditto matches like this. But anyway, we have Protective Pads to deal with the opposing Ferrothorn, and then I can just 1v1 it with Knockoff and Body Press. I want it to be gone as soon as possible to help out my Swampert, and since it's a grass type, I deny it a Leech Seed recovery as well. Now we have Swampert. It's a Rest Talk defensive set. The special defense EVs allow me to live 2 Shadow Balls from Spectrier, and the defense EVs allow me to live a close combat from Mega Lucario. Then the rest is just dumped into attack, which is my nature. I went with Rest Talk to deal with any Scald Burns, Will-O-Wisp Burns, or Toxic Spike Poisons. And then just Dual Stab to deal with the rest of the team. It's walled by Ferrothorn and Pelipper, but like I said, once my Ferrothorn takes care of it, it'll be a very effective set. Now there's Overquill. We have a Spike Setter here with water moves, just because they're boosted in the brain, and it's priority. Then Barb Barrage is nice filler to poison Tornadus or Sableye. I can't poison the Knuckle Stack, unfortunately, because of its ability. But it's mostly there to set up spikes, and for Intimidate support. Dialga, we have Expert Belt for its lots of coverage, and then Stealth Rock to pressure even more. Aura Sphere and Flash Cannon have great coverage versus this team, and then Thunder just cements it. The speed allows me to outspeed the Pelipper if it's modest, and then the special defense allows me to live a Terra Blast Specs fighting from Spectrier. The rest is done with the special attack. Then we have Giratina, meant to counter the Lucario, if it's physical at least. If it's special, then I might have to pray, but it's not going to be that. There's no way they can be special. Especially when you have to give up close combat and extreme speed. So, we have Will-O-Wisp to burn everything, combos well with Hex, then Aura Sphere to smash through Ferrothorn and Lucario. Sneak is once again priority for his 2 Ubers. And then we have Mr. Mime, because I need a spinner for all this hazard potential my opponent has. Freeze Dry is good for the Basculegion as well as the Toxapex, so I don't even need to run Psychic. And then Encore helps me deal with their bulky core. And lastly, Focus Blast is if I need some more damage against Ferrothorn. The speed EVs allow me to outspeed Spectrier once I get off one Rapid Spin. So if it's Terra fighting, I can get the +1 on it. Hopefully it thinks it can scare me out and set up with Nasty Plot. And then now that I outspeed it, I can Encore it and then work from there. And then the special defense EVs just allow me to live hits from Spectrier once I Terra Steel. Because yes, my Mr. Mime's Terra type is Steel, can only be Steel. So I'm pretty confident going into this, even if they don't bring Rain. My team doesn't really need it that badly. Only Swampert, because I'll be able to outspeed basically everything except Spectrier. Mega Lucario, it's not going to run max speed because my speed tiers aren't that efficient. So they're just going to creep my next fastest thing after Kilowatt Drill. So Swampert at +2 should be able to outspeed it. Now let's get into the battle. So both of us didn't bring Rain. I am genuinely surprised that none of us brought Pelipper, but that's alright. We only have one Swift Swimmer apiece. Though my opponent could possibly think I have two. They have Ferrothorn, Sableye, and Knucklestack as the defensive core. And then the other three are his breakers. But I can go into my Ferrothorn because his Ferrothorn looks like an excellent lead here. And if they lead with anything else, say Terra fighting Spectrier or Lucario, or even Knucklestack, I have switching options for those. With Spectrier being my Overquill, Lucario being Giratina, and Knucklestack being Swampert. I know Salt Cure is pretty bad, but I have Rest Talk to somewhat alleviate that. So I lead Ferrothorn. And they do in fact lead Lucario. I'm gonna go into Giratina to take the fighting move or to stop a Swords Dance sweep. They do go for the fighting move. Safe switch. Over here, I go for the Aura Sphere right away because I don't need to Will-O-Wisp. A good Aura Sphere will catch the Knucklestack, as you can see right there, but the other Will-O-Wisp switch-ins didn't really like taking a Ghost move. So I figured that they would go into something that tanks the Will-O-Wisp. I didn't explain that too well, but whatever. So over here, I forgot about Terra Fairy. I was just like, oh, 3-2-hit KO, but now they recover. At this point, I'm like, well, time to get up my hazards as they get up theirs. Over here, the prime target is on the field, so now I want to start chipping away at it. It does have spikes though, which is very dangerous. And I do have Stealth Rock. So yeah, the double rocks is weird, but they have Defog Tornadus, which they didn't bring. It releases T-Wave, which wasn't that big of a deal. And now I want to get rid of its potential recovery, but it was actually Berry. And I just want to keep whittling it down. Thankfully, he can't weaken me with his ability. And now comes Sableye. It can't really do much to me, so I just decided to stay in and knock it off. It has a dual screen Sableye, which is very interesting. And over here, now I can start spamming Leech Seed, because the only one that can take it will just die to Body Press. Now this was a tough turn, because he has this green up, and now I can't spam Leech Seed. And I can tell that Lucario or Spectre was coming in for sure. So now my option is, should I switch into Giratina to preemptively counter these switch-ins? Or should I stay in and Body Press, hoping it's still going to be strong enough to whittle down the Lucario and then put it in range of Giratina? So here comes the Lucario, and I decided to stay in and Body Press it. Because they wouldn't go into Spectre, not on the possible knockoff, because I was stabilize a ghost type and Body Press doesn't affect it, so my next move would be to knock off. And Spectre hasn't Terra'd yet, so then the next option would be to go into Lucario, who takes the knockoff super well. So that works out, but there's still the dilemma of, was Body Press strong enough to weaken it so that Giratina can clean it? It's a bulk up one, and yeah, I stayed in and Body Pressed because I didn't want it to set up, and if it did set it up, I would weaken it even more so that Giratina can come in on the next fighting type move. Or if it just straight up tried to attack me, my physical defense should have allowed me to live if it's Jolly, and then it gets weakened even more by Helmet. Though I did forget to consider Drain Punch's healing. So now I switch to Giratina, take out the Drain Punch. Thankfully that worked out. I spent a while on this move because the switch did seem a little obvious. And yep, now my Giratina tanks it thanks to my max defense. And there, the giant threat is gone. Here's the Basculegion, but now that Giratina... Oh, wait, no. I wall this guy, which is why I switched into Overqwil. It goes for the banned move Last Respects. Well, not banned in this league, but banned in standard play. And from the switch, looks like it's choice, probably choice banned. And now I get up my own spikes. I decide to be a little greedy and get up some more spikes instead of switching over to Ferrothorn, and thankfully the Leech Seed missed. So over here, I'm like, well, he's gonna Leech Seed me, I can just spin everything away. Unfortunately, they switched into their Sableye. I didn't think they would do it because the hazards would get it killed, but it was gonna die to hazards no matter what, and they did want to keep their own hazards, so that was a good sack on them. I Terra Steel preemptively. There's the Basculegion, and I know I wasn't physically defensive enough to live. A Last Respects. Intimidate coming in clutch here. And I just get some last chip in before overflow goes down. And now Giratina, I haven't revealed Shadow Sneak yet. Though it looked obvious, they didn't really have a switch in thanks to all of my hazards. Now comes the Spectrier. They can't Terra because they Terra their Knuckle stack. And now that it's weakened, Dialga can just take any hit and then retaliate back. A crit could have been dicey here, but we stay grateful for no crits. And now Dialga just cleans the rest of their team with coverage. So funny how none of us brought Pelipper when we were both rain teams. The Terra Fairy Knuckle stack was kind of biting them in the back because if they had Terra available for their Spectrier behind screens, it would have been very deadly. And their Lucario was kind of getting schmixed on. If they could have predicted my Giratina switches, which were a little obvious, but considering how none of my Pokemon resist fighting except for Giratina. They could have put Giratina in range of a +1 crunch, and then things would also get dicey from there. It was also crazy how both of us couldn't remove our hazards. My opponent didn't bring any hazards at all, and he told me that he was just going to accept that the hazards were going to be there. I tried to get rid of the hazards, but they had a great spin blocker. Even though it didn't actually block the rapid spin, it just died to stop rapid spin from hitting anything. We all had hazards, so our switch-ins were basically non-existent, which is more beneficial for me since my team is more offensively inclined versus their Sableye, Ferrothorn, Knuckle stack core. Knuckle stack could have made great switch-ins to a couple of my Mons now that it Terra Fairy, but all those hazards meant that it had no chance of coming in. Thanks for watching.